Today is March 1st of 2026, and here are this week's top volcano-related news stories per the opinion of a geologist. In Vanuatu, a strong eruption of the Ambae volcano sent a sustained plume of ash up to 10,000 feet into the sky, leading to ashfall at some nearby communities and for the volcano's alert level and exclusion zone to be increased. Meanwhile, in Japan, a strong series of more than 100 earthquakes which have struck offshore of Miyakojima Island is, via one possible interpretation, occurring due to the intrusion of andesitic magma at a submarine volcano. And in what is this week's top story, a largest explosive eruption occurred at the Kanlaon volcano in the Philippines, generating pyroclastic flows which scorched more than 1 square kilometer of ground. The specified eruption occurred at 7:04 p.m. local time on February 26, when a volcanion-type explosion at the volcano's summit generated a shockwave that radiated outwards. Before I continue, I want to note that this footage has a low frame rate because it was not filmed in real time and was greatly slowed down in editing from an originally sped-up video clip. Regardless, the explosion was so energetic that ballistic fragments and bombs of lava were rapidly thrown as high as 1,500 meters or 4,922 feet into the sky. These hundreds, possibly thousands of fragments subsequently rained down within 1 kilometer of Kanlaon's summit to the south and 1.5 kilometers of its summit to the southeast. This is what created the summit glow the infrared cameras registered. At the same time, pyroclastic flows generated by collapse of heavy material in the eruption plume traveled in all directions, scorching the landscape up to 2 kilometers away in one particular spot. While the initial explosive eruption was brief, only lasting 2 minutes, it was followed by 77 minutes of continuous ash emissions. As the eruption plume reached an altitude of a little less than 5 kilometers, it drifted to the southwest, causing trace to at most a few millimeters of ash to fall on these labeled communities. This whole eruption was a bit unusual, as across the previous 6 major explosions the Kanlaon volcano has produced since June 2024, distinct larger events had always occurred more than a month apart, with more numerous weaker ash emissions in between. Yet, the February 26 explosion only occurred a week after the prior one, and it occurred for the same reason. A drop in sulfur dioxide emissions and an increase in earthquakes indicated that a plug had formed, with pressure building underneath it until it was able to break through the overlying rock. Meanwhile, in Vanuatu, this week the Ambae shield volcano has been erupting at its highest intensity in at least 3 years, creating the Shontol ash plume. This increased activity began on February 12th when lava fountaining began at Ambae's summit crater, creating an orange glow visible from quite a distance. While this may have created a short-lived lava flow, I instead interpret that the fresh-ish looking lava shown here originated during a 2023 eruption. Eruptive activity eventually became more explosive, with sustained phreatomagmatic eruption plumes producing a continuous rising plume of ash. This plume has been repeatedly visible from a fair distance away, rising to as much as 10,000 feet altitude. As a result of Ambae's increased activity, its alert level was raised from 2 to 3, and its exclusion zone at its summit was expanded to 3 kilometers in all directions. Meanwhile, offshore of Japan's Miyakojima Island, there is a chance that a magmatic intrusion is actively ongoing. What I'm referring to is a spot 70 kilometers to the island's north-northwest, which has been experiencing a strong earthquake swarm that so far has involved hundreds of earthquakes in a relatively small area since February 21st. While these earthquakes could have a purely tectonic origin, their nature seems to be quite similar to other submarine-centered earthquake swarms that were also interpreted as magma intrusions elsewhere. If magma is involved, it could be related to a submarine volcano known as the Erebus Seamount. Or any magma intrusion present might not even be associated with a nearby volcano, just representing a stray intrusion in a tectonic region that sometimes can produce volcanoes. And now, here's a quick list of all 43 volcanoes which are actively erupting, the same number which were erupting last week. Additionally, here are some volcanoes showing signs of unrest which are not erupting as of the recording of this video on February 28th of 2026. As a final note, I'd like to thank my patrons on Patreon and YouTube channel members for supporting my work.